You called me a burden, Nathan, on my 65th birthday in front of everyone. And when you shattered Grandma's china, I realized something inside me broke too. Most people think sons protect their mothers. Mine tried to declare me incompetent just to steal my home and legacy. But what he didn't know was that my late husband had secretly left me a $7 million trust, completely out of his reach. I gave up everything for Nathan, my art, my dreams, decades of working late-night diner shifts, and now he calls me nothing? I fought back. In this video, I'll show you how I turned betrayal into freedom, how I left my old life, exposed his lies in court, and built something powerful, a shelter for women like me. I have the letter. I have the recordings. And I'll never forget the silence in that courtroom when the judge heard him scream, "You're nothing to us." If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, don't scroll past this. You might just find the courage you've been waiting for, right here. Before I share what happened next, I'd love to know a bit about you. Are you a night owl or an early bird? Drop 1 in the comments if you usually stay up late, or 2 if you're someone who sleeps early. I'll be reading and replying to some of you personally tonight. Let's walk through my story together. My son's barbecue was meant to honor my 65th birthday. Then Nathan pushed me, snarling, "We need space!" I stood in my Columbus backyard, the humid July air thick with the scent of apple pie and grilled chicken. American flags fluttered on the picnic tables, and neighbors sipped lemonade, their laughter mingling with the buzz of a summer evening. July 7th, 2024 was supposed to be a celebration, my 65th birthday, a milestone I'd earned through decades of love and sacrifice. But as I arranged my mother's china plates, the ones I'd saved for special days like this, a knot tightened in my chest. Somewhere in my desk, a locked diary whispered secrets my late husband Robert had left behind. I didn't know what they were, but their weight pressed on me, like the heavy air before a storm. I smoothed my apron, my fingers tracing the embroidered daisies I'd sewn years ago when Nathan was still a boy who needed me. I'd worked late shifts at the diner, my feet aching to pay for his college, his dreams. Now, at 40, he strode into the backyard, his suit crisp but his eyes cold, scanning the house like it was already sold. My daughter, Sarah, 38, hovered near the grill, her face tight with guilt. She hadn't called since I missed her 30th birthday, too busy working to cover Nathan's tuition. Her daughter, Mia, 16, darted over, her ponytail bouncing, and hugged me. "You're the best, Grandma," she said, her voice warm with the stories I'd told her about my youth, painting dreams I'd given up for my kids. Lorraine, my best friend at 62, caught my eye from across the yard. She'd been estranged from her own son for years, and her knowing nod said she saw trouble coming. The clink of china plates steadied my nerves as guests gathered, their chatter about 4th of July fireworks filling the air. I carried a tray of cornbread, smiling at neighbors who'd known me since Robert and I bought this house. Nathan stood by the picnic table, his phone glued to his hand, muttering about comps and square footage. I frowned, my heart sinking. "Nathan, what's this about?" I asked, setting the tray down. He didn't look at me, just waved a hand. "Mom, we need to talk later. It's not a big deal." His voice was sharp, like he was dismissing a stranger. I glanced at Sarah, who looked away, her fingers twisting her necklace. Mia watched, her eyes narrowing, sensing the shift. Lorraine sidled up, whispering, "He's up to something, Laura." I nodded, my throat tight, but I kept my smile for the guests. The barbecue was in full swing when Nathan clapped his hands, silencing the crowd. "Everyone, listen up," he called, his voice booming like he was selling real estate. "This house is too big for Mom alone. We're putting it on the market. We need space." My heart stopped. The words hit like a slap, and before I could speak, he turned to me, his eyes cold. "You're a burden now, Mom. It's time to move on." I stepped forward, my voice shaking. "Nathan, this is my home. I raised you here." He scoffed, pushing my arm to brush past me, the force making me stumble. Gasps rippled through the neighbors. Sarah's face flushed, her eyes dropping to the grass. Mia rushed to my side, whispering, "You're enough, Grandma." Her words were a lifeline, but my chest ached, like the ground had cracked beneath me. Nathan didn't even look back, already talking to a neighbor about property values. I stood frozen, the lemonade pitcher trembling in my hands. How could my son, the boy I'd rocked through nightmares, call me a burden? I'd given him everything. My time, my dreams, my art career, all sacrificed for his future. Now he stood there dismantling my life in front of everyone I knew. Lorraine pulled me aside, her voice low but fierce. "Don't let him break you, Laura. You're stronger than this." Her own pain, years of silence from her son, gave her words weight. I nodded, but my eyes stung. As the guests drifted away, their pitying glances burned. I carried plates inside, my hands shaking, and paused at Robert's old desk in the study. A locked diary sat in the drawer, its leather cover cool under my fingers. I hadn't opened it since Robert died, but tonight it felt like a call. The diary's weight anchored me as I cleared the last of the china, a spark of defiance flickering in my chest. What had I done to deserve this? I'd poured my life into Nathan and Sarah, believing love would hold us together. But Nathan's words, his push, shattered that illusion. I wasn't just their mother. I was their sacrifice, and he'd tossed it aside like it meant nothing. Mia's whisper, "You're enough," echoed in my mind, clashing with Nathan's cruelty. Sarah's silence stung too, her guilt a reminder of the birthday I'd missed, working to keep Nathan in school. Lorraine's strength, born from her own family's betrayal, urged me to fight. I didn't know what the diary held, but as I gripped it, I felt a truth stirring. I wasn't done yet. My sacrifices weren't nothing, and I wouldn't let Nathan erase me. What secrets did this diary hide? The diary's lock clicked open. Robert's letter inside changed everything. I sat in my Columbus study, the warm glow of family photos on the walls clashing with the ache in my chest. Fireflies flickered outside the window, their soft light a faint hope in the summer dusk. Nathan's words from the barbecue, "You're a burden," still stung, his push making my arm throb. I'd given him everything, working late shifts at the diner to fund his college, giving up my art career to keep our family afloat. Now he wanted to sell my home, the place where I'd raised him and Sarah, where Robert and I had built our life. The locked diary in my hand, its leather worn from years untouched, felt like a lifeline. Robert's words, hidden inside, hinted at a truth about Nathan's greed, a secret yet to unfold. I turned the key, my fingers trembling. The lock gave way with a soft snap, and I opened the diary to find a yellowed envelope tucked inside. Laura was scrawled in Robert's neat handwriting. My breath caught. I slid out the letter, the paper crisp despite its age, and read, "Protect yourself, Laura. You're no burden." Clipped to it was a trust document, $7 million secured in accounts Nathan couldn't touch. My eyes widened, tears pricking. Robert had been so quiet about his investments, always working late at his hardware business while I painted in my head dreams I'd shelved for our kids. I'd thought he was distant, focused on numbers, but this was his love hidden all these years. The letter's ink smelled of hope, like fresh canvas, as I reached for the phone to call Alan. Alan Richard Hayes, our family lawyer and Robert's old friend, answered on the second ring. "Laura, you okay?" His voice was warm, steady, like the oak desk I leaned against. I clutched the letter, my voice shaking but firm. "Alan, I found something. A trust. $7 million. Nathan can't get it, can he?" I heard him exhale, papers rustling. "No, Laura, Robert made it airtight. You're in control now." I closed my eyes, picturing Nathan's smug face at the barbecue, his hand shoving my arm. "I want it moved, Alan. Somewhere Nathan can't touch. And I need to leave Columbus." Alan paused, then said, "Sarasota's got condos, Laura. Quiet, safe. I'll set it up." His loyalty to Robert, their late-night talks over coffee at the VFW hall, grounded his words. I nodded, though he couldn't see. "Do it fast. I said. The phone's click echoed in the study, my resolve hardening like the oak under my hands. I turned back to the diary, flipping through its pages. A cryptic note slipped out, written in Robert's tight scrawl. Nathan can't be trusted. My heart raced. Nathan had always been ambitious, his real estate ventures flashing wealth until they didn't. I remembered his calls years ago, asking for loans that never came back. Robert must have seen it, planned for it. I stood, moving to the bedroom, and pulled a suitcase from the closet. The zipper hummed as I packed, my favorite cardigan, a photo of Mia at her school play, Robert's old watch. Each item felt like a piece of me I was claiming back. Nathan thought I was a burden, a relic to be shelved in some assisted living home. But this trust, Robert's final gift, said otherwise. I wasn't done yet. My hand steadied as I zipped the suitcase shut. Nathan's betrayal still burned. His voice, "You're a burden," were echoing in my mind. But Robert's letter was a shield. I'd given up my art, my nights, my dreams for him, and he'd tossed it aside in front of our neighbors. Sarah's silence at the barbecue, her eyes avoiding mine, cut deep too. She drifted away after I missed her 30th birthday, working overtime for Nathan's tuition. Lorraine's words, "Don't let him break you," rang true. She'd lost her son to greed too, refusing his demands. Alan's promise to protect the trust gave me a path forward. And Mia, sweet Mia, her whisper, "You're enough, Grandma," was a spark. I wasn't just running. I was choosing myself, maybe for the first time. Was Robert always guarding my freedom? Why did Robert fear Nathan's greed? Nathan thought I'd fold over dinner. His words cut deeper than his push. The kitchen smelled of pot roast, rich and warm, the kind of meal I'd made for Nathan when he was a boy. American flag placemats lined my Columbus table, their stars faded from years of family dinners. Outside, fireworks from a nearby festival popped, their faint booms clashing with the tension knotting my stomach. The trust I'd found in Robert's diary, $7 million, was my shield. But Nathan was hiding more secrets, and I could feel them lurking like shadows. I stirred the pot, my hands steady despite the ache from his push at the barbecue. "You're a burden," he'd said, his voice still ringing in my ears. I'd invited him tonight to talk about the move, hoping to understand, but my heart braced for a fight. I set the table, my mother's china gleaming under the kitchen's fluorescent light. Each plate reminded me of late shifts at the diner, my feet throbbing to pay for Nathan's college. I'd given up my art, my dreams for him and Sarah. Now at 40, Nathan was drowning in debt from his risky real estate ventures, and he saw my home as his lifeline. The stove sizzle steadied my nerves as I heard his car pull up. Lorraine's text buzzed my phone. "You're stronger than his greed, Laura." Her own son's betrayal, refusing to speak after she denied his demands, gave her words weight. I tucked the phone away, smoothing my apron, ready to face Nathan. If your own child looked you in the eye and said you never mattered, what would you do? What came out of his mouth next? My heart still aches thinking about it. Drop a 6 in the comments if you're still here, because this part hurts more than I expected. He walked in, suit rumpled, eyes scanning the kitchen like it was already on the market. "Smells good, Mom," he said, but his tone was flat, like he was humoring me. I nodded, serving the pot roast, my heart pounding. Mrs. Delaney, our neighbor, dropped by with a jar of homemade jam, lingering at the door. "Let's talk, Nathan," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Why do you need to sell my house?" He leaned back, smirking. "You never did anything for us, Mom. This place is too big for you. My firm's tanking. I need the money." His words hit like a slap, worse than his push at the barbecue. Mrs. Delaney gasped, her hand on the jam jar. I gripped the table, my voice rising. "I gave you my life, Nathan, every cent for your college." He scoffed, rolling his eyes. "That was years ago. You're irrelevant now." The words burned, public and cruel, with Mrs. Delaney's wide eyes watching. I stood, my chair scraping the floor, anger flaring in my chest. "I work nights for you," I snapped. "I gave up painting, my dreams, for your future." Nathan slammed his fork down, his face twisting. "You're holding me back, Mom. I need this house." Mrs. Delaney backed toward the door, murmuring excuses, her shock a mirror to my own. My hands shook, but my voice held steady. "This is my home, Nathan. You don't get to decide." He stood towering over me, his eyes cold. "You'll see I'm right," he muttered, storming out. The door slammed, the sound echoing like a firework. I sank into my chair, the pot roast untouched, my anger drowning out the hurt. How had my son, the boy I'd read bedtime stories to, become this stranger? As I cleared the table, my eyes caught Nathan's tablet left open on the counter. An email glowed on the screen, half written to investors, begging for funds to liquidate assets. My pulse quickened. His desperation was deeper than I'd thought, his secrets spilling out in careless words. The tablet's glow haunted me as I scrubbed the dishes, my anger rising like the steam from the sink. Lorraine's text flashed in my mind. She'd fought her own son's greed and won. Sarah's silence at the barbecue, her guilt over my missed sacrifices lingered too. Mia's whisper, "You're enough," was a spark in the dark. The trust was my power, but Nathan's cruelty was pushing me to use it. I wasn't just running from him, I was running toward myself. How did my son become so cruel? Who are these investors Nathan's begging? Lorraine's courage lit a spark in me. By morning, I was ready to vanish. I sat on Lorraine's couch in her Columbus living room, the quilted throws soft under my fingers. Church bake sale flyers stacked neatly on the coffee table. The air smelled of lavender and old wood, a comfort against the storm in my chest. Nathan's words from last night, "You never did anything for us," cut deeper than his push at the barbecue. His denial of my sacrifices a blade to my heart. The $7 million trust I'd found in Robert's diary was my shield, but his secrets might hold more clues to Nathan's betrayal. I clutched my coffee mug, its warmth grounding me as Lorraine's eyes, sharp with her own pain, met mine. Lorraine leaned forward, her silver hair catching the morning light. "I told my son no when he demanded my savings," she said, her voice steady but heavy. "He hasn't spoken to me since, but I'm free, Laura. You're stronger than Nathan thinks." Her estrangement, born from refusing her son's greed, mirrored my own fight. I nodded, my anger at Nathan's cruelty, his public sneer in front of Mrs. Delaney, turning to purpose. "I can't stay here, Lorraine," I said, my voice low. "He wants my house, my life." She squeezed my hand, her grip firm. "Then don't let him have it." Her words, forged from her own battle, lit a fire in me. I'd given up my art career for Nathan, worked nights to fund his dreams, and he'd called me nothing. No more. I drove home, the summer air thick with humidity. In my kitchen, I called Alan Hayes, Robert's old friend and our lawyer. The phone rang twice before his warm voice answered. "Laura, you holding up?" I gripped the receiver, standing by the counter where Nathan's tablet had revealed his desperate email to investors. "Alan, I need to move the trust, and I'm leaving Columbus. Can you find me a place in Sarasota?" He exhaled, papers rustling. "Robert would be proud, Laura. I'll secure the trust and find a condo. You're taking your life back." His loyalty to Robert, their shared evenings at the VFW swapping stories, anchored his words. "Do it fast," I said. The phone's click echoed my resolve as I turned to prep for a farewell barbecue, a plan to mislead Nathan into thinking I'd surrendered. I hung red, white, blue streamers, the colors blurring as my heart steadied. Later, Lorraine stopped by, her arms full of homemade cookies for the barbecue. Soft jazz drifted from a neighbor's porch, mingling with the scent of my apple pie cooling on the counter. She set the cookies down, then pulled an old photo from her purse. A faded snapshot of Robert with a bank manager, both smiling outside a Columbus bank. "Robert kept secrets even from me," she said, her voice low. This was before he died. My pulse quickened. Robert's cryptic note, "Nathan can't be trusted," flashed in my mind. Had he seen Nathan's greed coming? I touched the photo, its edges worn, and set out the pie, my hands steady. "I'm leaving tomorrow," I told her. She nodded, proud. "You're doing what I wish I'd done sooner." The photo's faded image lingered in my mind as the jazz music swelled, a promise of secrets yet to uncover. I moved through the kitchen, arranging plates, my thoughts racing. Nathan's betrayal, his voice, "You're nothing," still burned. But Lorraine's story of defiance gave me strength. She'd lost her son to greed, just as I was losing Nathan. Sarah's silence at the barbecue, her guilt over my missed sacrifices, haunted me too. Mia's whisper, "You're enough," was a beacon. Her love, a reminder of why I fought. Alan's promise to secure the trust and find a condo was my lifeline. The barbecue would be my cover, a way to slip away before Nathan could stop me. I wasn't just running from his greed, I was running toward a life where I defined my worth. Can I leave my whole past behind? Who was that bank manager with Robert? I played the perfect mother at the barbecue, then Nathan's letter struck like a slap. The Columbus backyard buzzed with the farewell barbecue, red, white, blue bunting swaying in the humid July breeze. The air carried the smoky tang of grilled chicken and the sweet warmth of my apple pie, fresh from the oven. Neighbors laughed, their voices mixing with the clink of glasses, but my heart raced with the secret I carried. The $7 million trust, Robert's hidden gift, was my weapon, tucked safely in my mind as I prepared to flee to Sarasota. But Nathan's reach, his greed, stretched far, and I felt it looming like a storm cloud. I smiled serving pie, my hand steady despite the memory of his cruel words at the last barbecue. "You're a burden." I moved through the crowd, offering slices of pie to neighbors who'd known me for decades. Lorraine caught my eye, her silver hair glinting as she winked. "You're unstoppable, Laura," she whispered, her voice thick with pride. Her own fight, cutting ties with her son over his demands for money, gave her words strength. I nodded, my apron hiding my trembling fingers. Nathan stood by the grill, his suit out of place among the casual crowd, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yeah, it's a done deal," he said, his voice smug. My stomach twisted. He thought I was giving in, selling the house. Sarah lingered near the picnic table, her eyes avoiding mine, guilt etched in her frown. She hadn't spoken much since I missed her 30th birthday, working to pay Nathan's way. Mia, her daughter, squeezed my hand, her voice soft. "I'll miss you, Grandma." Her loyalty, rooted in the stories I'd shared about my youth, warmed me. The pie's sweetness faded as I slipped away, boarding a plane to Sarasota, my suitcase heavy with resolve. In Sarasota, my new condo felt sparse, its white walls bare except for a vase of farmers' market flowers on the table. Ocean breezes slipped through the open window, carrying the promise of a fresh start. I unpacked my cardigan, Robert's watch, and a photo of Mia, each item a piece of the life I was reclaiming. At a beachside cafe, jazz music floated over the hum of retirees sipping coffee. Carla Renee Ortiz, the owner, slid a mug toward me, her smile warm. "You're home now, Laura," she said, her voice rich with kindness. She'd left her controlling mother years ago, raising her son alone, and her story of independence mirrored my own. I sipped the coffee, its bitterness grounding me. "I'm starting over," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Carla nodded, her eyes knowing. "You're stronger than you know." Her friendship felt like a lifeline, a new community taking root. Back at the condo, I sorted through mail, my fingers pausing on a thick envelope with Nathan's handwriting. My heart sank. I tore it open, and his words hit like a slap. "Return in 30 days or I'll declare you incompetent." A conservatorship. He called me delusional, unfit, echoing his cruel "you're a burden" from Columbus. A bank email slipped out, its subject line stark, "Unknown account activity." My pulse quickened. It listed a trust account tied to Robert's secret millions, one Nathan didn't know about. I gripped the letter, my anger flaring. He thought he could cage me, strip my home, my life. Lorraine's farewell text flashed in my mind. "You're free, Laura." Carla's words, "You're home," echoed too. The email's chime rang in my ears as I stared at the ocean, my resolve hardening like the shore against the waves. Nathan's greed was a poison, seeping from Columbus to Sarasota. His letter wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of war. I'd given him everything, worked nights to fund his dreams, only for him to call me incompetent. Lorraine's pride in me, her own victory over her son's greed, bolstered my courage. Carla's story of breaking free reminded me I wasn't alone. Sarah's silence stung, but Mia's love, her hand squeezing mine, was a spark. The trust was my power, and this bank email hinted at more secrets Robert had left to protect me. I wasn't the burden Nathan claimed. I was a mother, a woman, ready to fight for my worth. Is Nathan's greed all he has left of me? What's behind this secret bank account? Carla's cafe felt like a fresh start. Then Sarah's diary broke my heart open. The beachside cafe in Sarasota buzzed with life, its seashell decor glinting under soft lights. The aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the salty ocean breeze, and jazz music drifted from a corner speaker, soothing the retirees chatting at nearby tables. I sat by the window, my hands wrapped around a warm mug, feeling the first stirrings of hope since fleeing Columbus. The $7 million trust, Robert's secret gift, was my shield, but his letter hinted at deeper truths about Nathan's greed, truths still waiting to be revealed. Nathan's conservatorship threat, "Return, or I'll declare you incompetent," loomed like a shadow, his words from the barbecue, "You're a burden," still burning. But here, in this new place, I felt a spark of something new. Carla Renee Ortiz slid into the seat across from me, her apron dusted with flour. "You're free now, Laura," she said, her voice warm as the coffee. At 42, she'd left her controlling mother to raise her son alone, her story of independence a mirror to my own. "I walked away from my mom's demands," she said, her eyes steady. "It hurt, but it saved me." I sipped my coffee, its bitterness grounding me. "I'm trying to save myself too," I said, my voice soft but firm. Carla smiled, her hand brushing mine. "You're stronger than you know." Her friendship, forged in shared defiance, felt like a lifeline, tying me to this new community. The jazz music faded as I walked back to my condo, my heart lighter, hope tempering the anger Nathan's letter had sparked. At my condo, still sparse with unpacked boxes, memories of Robert's distance surfaced. He'd been so focused on his hardware business, I'd given up my art to support him and the kids. Now those boxes held pieces of that life. His watch, our old photos. The doorbell chimed, and I opened it to find Sarah, my daughter, her face pale, eyes red. "Mom, I need to talk," she said, clutching a small diary. At 38, her guilt over our distance, since I missed her 30th birthday working to fund Nathan's college, etched lines in her face. She sat on my couch, flipping open the diary. "I wrote this after my 30th, she said, voice breaking. "You weren't there because you were working for Nathan. I blamed you, but I failed you, Mom." Tears spilled as she showed me the entry, her words raw. "Nathan demanded money again. Mom's always giving." My throat tightened. I reached for her hand, cautious. "I'm here now, Sarah," I said, forgiving but guarded. Her remorse, so raw, softened my anger, pulling us closer. I picked up Robert's letter from the trust, rereading it as Sarah watched. Nathan's greed worried me, he'd written, his words sharp with foresight. Sarah's diary entry echoed it, mentioning Nathan's demands for money years ago, even from Robert. My heart raced. Had Robert seen this coming, planned the trust to protect me? Sarah wiped her eyes. "I should have seen your strength sooner," she said, her voice thick. I nodded, resolve building. Mia, her daughter, was in that diary too. her love for my stories clear in Sarah's words. Mia adores Mom's tales. The diary's pages crinkled as I set it down, vowing to fight Nathan's greed. I wasn't just a mother he could dismiss. I was a woman reclaiming her life. The ocean's hum outside steadied me, my resolve growing with every wave. Sarah's tears and Carla's support were anchors, pulling me from the anger Nathan's threat had ignited. His letter, calling me incompetent, was a cruel echo of his barbecue insult designed to cage me. But Sarah's diary, her raw regret, showed me a path to reconciliation. Carla's story of breaking free reminded me I could build anew. Lorraine's pride, her text after the barbecue, "You're free," lingered in my mind. Mia's love shining through Sarah's words was a spark of hope. Robert's letter, warning of Nathan's greed, was a call to action. I'd protect my legacy, not just for me, but for Sarah, for Mia, for every sacrifice I'd made. The diary held more secrets, and I needed to know them all. Can I trust Sarah after all these years? What else does Sarah's diary reveal about Nathan? Nathan pounded on my condo door. When he broke my mother's china, my doubts shattered too. The Sarasota night hummed with cicadas, their song sharp against the soft ocean breeze slipping through my condo's open window. Seashell art gleamed on the walls, a fragile attempt to make this new space home. It was August 2025, and the $7 million trust, Robert's secret gift, was my shield, but his letter hinted at deeper betrayal by Nathan, truths I still hadn't grasped. His conservatorship threat, calling me incompetent, burned in my mind, echoing his cruel words at the barbecue. "You're a burden." I stood in my living room, my fingers brushing a photo of Mia, when the doorbell rang like a gunshot. Nathan's shadow loomed outside, and my heart clenched. I opened the door, keeping the chain on, my hands steady despite the tremor in my chest. Nathan, 40, stood there, his suit wrinkled, eyes wild with desperation. "You're nothing to us, Mom," he shouted, his voice carrying across the quiet street. "Open the door!" I shook my head, my voice firm. "No, Nathan, you don't get to decide anymore." His face twisted and he shoved my arm through the gap, the force jarring my shoulder. Before I could react, he grabbed a china plate, my mother's, one I'd set out for Sarah's visit, and smashed it on the floor. The shards scattered, glinting like broken promises. I gasped, my heart cracking with the china. Marcus Lee Thompson, my security consultant, had installed a hidden camera, and I knew it was recording Nathan's cruelty. The shards glinted as I steadied my breath, anger surging past my pain. "Leave, or I call the police," I snapped, my voice cutting through the cicada's hum. Nathan's eyes narrowed, but he stepped back, muttering, "You'll regret this." He stormed off, his footsteps fading. I closed the door, my hands shaking as I swept up the china's remains. Marcus, 45, called minutes later, his voice calm, grounded by his own loss. A sister taken too soon, fueling his need for justice. "The camera caught everything, Laura," he said. His words, the plate, clear as day. I nodded, though he couldn't see, my resolve hardening. Nathan's greed, born from his bankrupt real estate ventures, had turned him into a stranger. I'd worked nights to fund his dreams, and now he broke my mother's china without a flicker of remorse. The camera's proof was my weapon, but my heart still ached for the boy he'd been. Sarah and Mia arrived an hour later, the condo's soft lighting warming their faces. Sarah, 38, hugged me, her eyes red with guilt over our distance. My missed sacrifices, like her 30th birthday spent working for Nathan's tuition. "I'm with you, Mom," she said, her voice thick. Mia, 16, handed me a hand-drawn sketch of my old Columbus home, its porch swing vivid. "You're my hero, Grandma," she said, her smile bright with the love she poured into the stories I'd told her. I hugged her, tears pricking, her loyalty a spark in the dark. As we sat, Sarah's hand in mine, I noticed Nathan's car idling down the street, its headlights dim but unmistakable. My pulse quickened, but Mia's sketch steadied me, its warmth lingering as I locked the door, my heart racing with new resolve. Nathan's shattered china wasn't just a plate. It was my past, my sacrifices, broken by his greed. His words, "You're nothing," echoed his barbecue insult, each one a blade to my maternal love. But Sarah's support, her guilt turning to action, rebuilt a piece of our bond. Mia's sketch, a symbol of generational love, reminded me why I fought. Marcus's camera, his justice-driven calm, gave me proof to wield. Lorraine's text from Columbus, "You're unstoppable," echoed in my mind, her own estrangement a mirror to my pain. The trust was my power, but Nathan's lurking car meant this wasn't over. I wasn't just defying him. I was forging a life where I defined my worth. When did my son become my enemy? Why is Nathan's car still lurking outside? Nathan thought he'd break me with threats. My allies built a fortress instead. The air in Alan's Sarasota law office was cool, sharp with the scent of polished wood and old legal books. American flag pins gleamed on his desk, a nod to his days swapping stories with Robert at the VFW Hall. It was August 2025, and the $7 million trust, Robert's secret gift, was my shield, his voice a guide to victory whispering through his letter. Nathan's recorded threat from my condo, "You're nothing to us," echoed in my mind, his shattered china plate a wound that fueled my anger. I sat across from Alan, my hands steady, ready to turn that anger into strategy. Alan, 55, leaned forward, his gray eyes steady with the loyalty he'd sworn to Robert. "We've got him, Laura," he said, clicking a file on his laptop. The speakers crackled, and Nathan's voice filled the room. "You're nothing to us!" The words, caught by Marcus's hidden camera when Nathan smashed my mother's china, stung anew. I handed Alan my affidavit, pages detailing my sacrifices, late nights at the diner, my art career abandoned to fund Nathan's college. Marcus Lee Thompson, 45, stood by the door, his nod quiet but proud. His own loss, a sister taken too soon, drove his need for justice, making him my protector. "This recording's gold," Marcus said, his voice low. I nodded, my resolve peaking. Nathan's greed, born from his bankrupt real estate ventures, wouldn't cage me. The recording's echo lingered as I left the office, my steps firm, heading to Carla's Cafe for solace. Carla's beachside cafe buzzed with retirees, slow jazz drifting over the clink of coffee mugs. Seashell decor caught the sunlight, and the salty breeze mixed with the aroma of fresh pastries. Carla, 42, slid a plate of blueberry scones toward me, her smile warm. "You're unstoppable, Laura," she said, her voice rich with empathy. She'd left her controlling mother years ago, raising her son alone, and her story of independence mirrored mine. "When I walked away, I found myself," she said, her eyes locking with mine. I sipped my coffee, its warmth easing my nerves. "I'm fighting for that, too," I said, strategizing in my head. Nathan's insults, "You're a burden. You're nothing," burned. But Carla's words soothed me, like the jazz music curling through the air. Sarah's text buzzed my phone. "I'm with you, Mom." Her guilt over my missed sacrifices, like her 30th birthday, was turning to loyalty. I smiled, my determination growing, the cafe's music fading as I walked home. At my condo, Marcus called, his voice calm but urgent. "Found something else, Laura." He played an old voicemail from Robert, discovered on a backup drive. "Laura, the trust is yours alone. Keep it safe." My heart skipped. Robert's foresight, his quiet planning while I gave up my dreams for our kids, hit me hard. Marcus paused, then added, "Nathan's at it again. Got another recording from your condo's camera." He played it, and Nathan's voice snarled, "You're delusional if you think you'll win." My jaw tightened. Nathan's new threat, recorded just yesterday, was another attempt to break me. I gripped Robert's watch, now on my wrist, its ticking steadying me. The voicemail's crackle fueled my determination as I paced the condo, the ocean's hum outside echoing my resolve. Nathan's cruelty, his words, the broken china, cut deeper each time. But my allies were my strength. Alan's loyalty to Robert, forged over years of friendship, made him relentless. Marcus's justice-driven heart, scarred by his sister's loss, turned his tech into my armor. Carla's story of freedom reminded me I could rebuild. Sarah's texts, her commitment growing, were a bridge to reconciliation. Lorraine's pride from Columbus, "You're unstoppable," still rang in my ears. The trust was my power, but these people were my fortress. Nathan thought he could outsmart me, but I'd raised him, loved him, sacrificed for him. Now I'd fight him, not as his mother, but as a woman claiming her worth. Can I outsmart the son I raised? What's in Nathan's new recorded threat? Nathan called me delusional in court papers. Robert's letter proved he was the liar. My Sarasota condo felt like a war room, legal papers scattered across the table, seashell decor glinting under the August 2025 sun. The ocean breeze carried a faint saltiness, but it couldn't ease the storm in my chest. Robert's trust, $7 million strong, was my shield, and his foresight, warning of Nathan's greed years ago, fueled my fire. Nathan's latest move, court papers claiming my delusions endangered the family, burned like his voice at the barbecue. "You're a burden, and at my condo, you're nothing to us." I gripped Robert's watch on my wrist, its ticking steadying me. I was fierce, ready to unite my family and face Nathan in court. Alan Hayes sat across from me, his law office files spread out like battle plans. At 55, his loyalty to Robert, forged over coffee at the VFW, made him my rock. "Laura, we've got more," he said, sliding a letter across the desk. Robert's handwriting stared back. "Nathan demanded money years ago. I hid the trust to protect you." My heart pounded. I remembered Nathan's calls, his loans never repaid, while I worked diner shifts to fund his college, my art dreams fading. Alan's gray eyes softened. "Robert saw this coming," he said. "You're not delusional. You're unstoppable." His words, tied to his duty to Robert, hit hard. I nodded, my resolve peaking, the letter's weight carrying me forward as I left for the farmer's market to meet Sarah and Mia. The Sarasota farmer's market buzzed with life, stalls piled with peaches and tomatoes, live music strumming from a guitar duo, the scent of fresh bread mixed with the tang of the sea, and American flags waved above the crowd. Sarah, 38, hugged me, her face etched with guilt over our distance, my absence at her 30th birthday, working to pay Nathan's way. "I'm all in, Mom," she said, her voice sincere. Mia, 16, handed me a sketch of my old Columbus home, its porch swing vivid, inscribed, "You're our strength." Her love, rooted in the stories I'd told her, brought tears to my eyes. "You're my hero, Grandma," she said, her smile bright. I hugged them both, unified, our bond stronger than Nathan's betrayal. Sarah's commitment, Mia's loyalty. They were my family, not the son who'd broken my mother's china. The market's music pulsed as we planned for court, my heart fierce. Back at the condo, a courier delivered Nathan's court papers, accusing me of incompetence, claiming my delusions threatened the family. His words echoed his cruel insults, sparking a fire in my gut. Alan called, his voice urgent. "I found Robert's final letter, Laura." He read it aloud. Nathan's greed grew after college. He demanded half my business. "The trust is yours alone." My jaw tightened. Robert had seen Nathan's heart, protected me when I couldn't see it myself. I recalled Nathan's smug face, his shattered china, his push. Alan added, "We'll use this in court." The market's music faded in my mind as I paced, fierce, ready for battle. The ocean's hum outside was a rhythm, urging me to fight. Nathan's court papers were a final blow, his greed laid bare. He thought he could cage me, erase me, just as he'd smashed my mother's china. But Sarah's sincerity, her guilt over our past distance, rebuilt our bond. She was with me now. Mia's sketch, a symbol of generational love, reminded me why I fought. For her, for the family I still had. Alan's loyalty to Robert, his strategic mind, was my sword. Carla's words from the cafe, "You're unstoppable," echoed. Her own escape from control, a mirror to my fight. Lorraine's pride from Columbus, her text after the barbecue, lingered. "You're free." The trust was my power, but Robert's final letter was my truth. Proof Nathan was the liar, not me. I wasn't just fighting for my legacy. I was fighting for every mother told she's nothing. Did Robert know I'd need to fight this hard? What else does Robert's final letter reveal? Nathan smirked across the courtroom. My voice would erase that smirk for good. The Sarasota courthouse was sterile, its polished wood pews creaking under the weight of spectators' murmurs. U.S. and Florida flags hung still, their soft flapping drowned by the hum of tension. It was September 2025, and the $7 million trust, Robert's secret gift, had given me power, but my words would win this war. Nathan's insults, "You're a burden." At the barbecue, "You're nothing to us." At my condo, burned in my memory, his shattered china plate a wound I carried. His court papers, calling me delusional, were his final attempt to cage me. I sat at the defendant's table, gripping Robert's watch on my wrist, its ticking a steady pulse. I was 65, fierce, ready to reclaim my worth. Nathan, 40, sat across the room, his suit crisp but his eyes cold, arrogant. He thought his conservatorship would hand him my home, my trust, to save his bankrupt real estate firm. His lawyer stood, voice sharp, claiming my incompetence justified control, citing my reckless move to Sarasota. Nathan's smirk grew, expecting victory, but I saw cracks in his confidence. His fingers tapped nervously. Alan Hayes, 55, beside me, adjusted his glasses, his loyalty to Robert fueling his focus. He'd promised to protect me, just as he'd shared coffee with Robert at the VFW, planning this very trust. Sarah, 38, sat in the gallery, her face proud, her guilt over our distance. My absence at her 30th birthday, working for Nathan, now a bond of support. The lawyer's words faded as I gripped my affidavit, my heart steady, ready to fight. Alan stood, his voice calm but commanding. "Your Honor, we have evidence," he said, clicking a recorder. Nathan's voice boomed through the courtroom. "You're nothing to us." The words, caught by Marcus's camera when he smashed my mother's china, drew gasps from spectators. I rose, my voice steady, eyes locked on the judge. "I gave up my art career for Nathan," I said. "I worked nights to pay his tuition. He tried to erase me, called me a burden, nothing, delusional. I moved to protect myself." Sarah squeezed my hand, her touch warm, her pride clear. The judge, a woman in her 50s, her face impartial but observant, scribbled notes. Spectators leaned forward, their murmurs hushed. Nathan's smirk faltered, his face paling. I sat, my chest light, liberated by my own voice. Alan slid Robert's letter across, his warning of Nathan's greed years ago. The courtroom's silence was heavy, the truth laid bare. The judge reviewed the letter, her pen scratching, then listened to Nathan's recording again. "You're nothing," it echoed, each word a blade to my maternal love. She glanced at me, her eyes noting my clarity, my strength. Alan handed her my affidavit detailing my sacrifices, decades of work, dreams abandoned for Nathan's future. Sarah's hand trembled in mine, her loyalty a bridge rebuilt after years of distance. Nathan shifted, his arrogance crumbling, his eyes darting to the exit. The judge scribbled a note, her face unreadable, and I held my breath. Marcus, in the back, nodded, his justice-driven heart, scarred by his sister's loss, rooted in our fight. The pen scratch signaled the verdict's weight, my resolve peaking as I waited for justice. Nathan's audacity, calling me delusional to steal my legacy, was a final betrayal. His failed ventures, his greed had isolated him. But I'd built a family with Sarah's support, Mia's love, Alan's loyalty. Sarah's presence, her guilt over our past turned to pride, reinforced our bond. Alan's role, tied to Robert's foresight, shone as he fought for me. Mia's sketches, her words, "You're our strength," echoed in my mind, tying to the maternal love I'd fought for. Carla's encouragement, Lorraine's pride, bolstered me from afar. The trust was my power, but my voice, my truth, was my victory. I wasn't the burden Nathan claimed. I was a mother, a woman, who'd reclaimed her worth. Did I finally make him see me as more than a burden? What will the judge's final words reveal? The courtroom set me free. Now I'd honor Robert in a way Nathan couldn't touch. My Sarasota condo glowed with warmth, seashell art catching the September 2025 sunlight. Family photos, me, Sarah, Mia, lined the walls, a new home built on my terms. The $7 million trust was Robert's gift, but my donation would shape its legacy. Nathan's absence after his courtroom defeat was a weight lifted, though his insults, "You're a burden, you're nothing," and the shattered china plate still lingered, fueling my resolve. I stood by the table, my fingers tracing Robert's watch, its ticking a steady reminder of my victory. At 65, I was liberated, ready to redefine my family and leave a mark. Sarah and Mia arrived, their laughter filling the condo like music. Sarah, 38, hugged me, her eyes bright with pride. Her guilt over our past distance, missing her 30th birthday while I worked for Nathan, now a healed wound. "You're amazing, Mom," she said, her voice soft. Mia, 16, handed me a sketch of my old Columbus home, its porch swing vivid, inscribed, "You're our strength." Her love, rooted in the stories I'd shared about my youth, warmed my heart. I hugged her, tears pricking. "You're my heart, Mia," I said. We sat, swapping stories of summer picnics, the kind with homemade lemonade and Robert's bad jokes. Nathan's betrayal, his broken china, felt distant now, severed by the judge's ruling. Sarah's hand rested on mine, our bond solid. The sketch's colors warmed me as I planned my next step, a donation to honor Robert. The Robert Carter Haven Shelter, groundbreaking, buzzed with Sarasota's community, American flags waving above the crowd. The air smelled of fresh earth and hope, a banner fluttering with the shelter's name. I stepped to the podium, my heart full, and spoke. "This is for every woman called a burden," I said, announcing my $1 million donation from the trust. "For every mother told she's nothing." The crowd cheered, small flags waving, their applause washing over me. I'd given up my art career for Nathan, worked nights for his dreams, only for him to try to erase me. This shelter, named for Robert, was my answer, a legacy of strength, not greed. Carla Renee Ortiz, 42, stood nearby, her smile proud. She'd left her controlling mother, built a life for her son, and her nod said she understood. The crowd's cheers faded as I stepped down, my purpose clear. "Back home," Carla called, inviting me to a beach festival. "You're one of us now, Laura," she said, her voice warm with the empathy of someone who'd fought for freedom. I smiled, setting the phone down, and found a new sketch from Mia on the table, a drawing of my condo, vibrant with seashells. My heart swelled. Mia's love, her sketches, tied me to a family I'd chosen, not lost. Sarah's pride, Carla's friendship, Lorraine's encouragement from Columbus, they were my strength. Nathan's absence, his greed exposed in court, was a closed chapter. The trust had saved me, but this donation, this shelter, was my legacy, a symbol of every sacrifice I'd made. The festival's distant music lifted me as I opened Mia's sketch, my soul light with purpose. Nathan's cruelty, his insults, the broken china, had tried to break me, but I'd built a new family. Sarah's reconciliation, rooted in her guilt over our past, was now a bond of love. Mia's sketches, her admiration, carried the maternal love I'd fought for. Carla's friendship, forged in her own escape, anchored me in Sarasota. Lorraine's pride, her text after the trial, "You're unstoppable," echoed in my heart. The shelter was my answer to Nathan's greed, a testament to Robert's foresight and my resilience. I wasn't the burden he'd claimed. I was a mother, a woman, who'd forged a legacy no one could touch. Is this the family I was always meant to have? What does Mia's new sketch show? Mia's sketch of my old Columbus home hung on my condo wall, but Sarasota was my true future. The jazz music in Carla's beachside cafe curled through the air like a warm embrace, blending with the chatter of retirees and the rich scent of fresh coffee. It was September 2025, and the ocean breeze carried a salty promise of peace, a stark contrast to the storms I'd left behind. The $7 million trust, Robert's secret gift, had given me freedom, but my choices, fleeing Nathan's cruelty, donating to the shelter, had woven a tapestry of peace I hadn't known I could claim. Nathan's absence after the courtroom severed his hold was a quiet gift. His insults, "You're a burden," "You're nothing," and the shattered china plate were fading echoes, scars that no longer bled. At 65, I sat at a corner table, my fingers tracing Mia's latest sketch, its note reading, "You taught me courage." I smiled, texting her back, my words mentoring her budding art. "Keep drawing, Mia," I typed. The jazz's soft rhythm warmed me, its notes a melody of new beginnings, carrying me toward my condo with a lightness I hadn't felt in years. Walking home, the Sarasota sun painted the palm trees in hues of gold and pink, their fronds swaying like a gentle wave. My condo was no longer sparse. Seashell art gleamed on the walls, and family photos, Sarah, Mia, me, told a story of love reclaimed. Carla Renee Ortiz, 42, had become my anchor, her invitation to join a beach festival committee, a thread tying me to this new community. "You're one of us, Laura," she'd said yesterday, her voice warm with the empathy of someone who'd left a controlling mother to build a life for her son. I hung a new photo, one of Sarah and Mia from their last visit, their laughter echoing in my memory. Sarah's call came as I arranged seashell coasters on the coffee table, their smooth edges cool under my fingers. "Mom, Mia and I are visiting next week," she said, her voice bright, free of the guilt that had lingered since I missed her 30th birthday, working late to fund Nathan's college. "I'm so proud of you," she added, her words a balm. I smiled, my heart swelling, the condo's warmth wrapping around me like a quilt stitched with hope. On my balcony, overlooking palm trees and a sunset that bled orange into the sky, I sipped coffee, its steam curling like a whisper. Lorraine's call from Columbus buzzed my phone, her voice thick with pride. "You did it, Laura," she said, her own estrangement from her son giving her words a weight I felt in my bones. "You're unstoppable." I leaned against the railing, the ocean's hum a steady rhythm, and reflected on Nathan. His greed exposed in court had isolated him, his failed real estate ventures a self-made prison. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? I murmured, the question soft against the evening's calm. My laptop chimed, an email from the Robert Carter Haven shelter glowing on the screen. "Your 1 million donation is changing lives," it read, detailing women finding safety, strength, a new start. I closed my eyes, the email's chime sealing my peace, the sunset's glow mirroring the calm in my soul. I'd fought for my worth, rebuilt my family with Sarah, Mia, Carla, Lorraine, not Nathan. Carla's Cafe had become my haven, its jazz music and retiree chatter, a soundtrack to my new life. I sat there yesterday, planning the beach festival with her, laughing over her stories of her son's skateboarding antics. Her empathy, forged in her escape from control, made her my confidant. "You've built something real here," she'd said, her hand brushing mine. I nodded, thinking of the shelter, It's groundbreaking ceremony where I declared, "This is for every woman called a burden." The crowd's cheers, their small American flags waving, had felt like a victory march. Sarah's reconciliation, her guilt over our past distance now a bond of pride, was a gift I hadn't expected. Her visit with Mia next week would fill my condo with laughter, stories of our old Columbus summers, picnics, lemonade, Robert's bad jokes. Mia's sketches, her note, "You taught me courage," were my legacy, a generational love that outshone Nathan's betrayal. I walked back inside, setting my coffee mug on the table, its ceramic clink a faint echo of the china Nathan had smashed. That moment, his cruel, "You're nothing," and the shards of my mother's plate had pushed me to this point. But I wasn't that woman anymore, trembling under his words. The trust had been Robert's gift, his foresight saving me when I couldn't see Nathan's greed. My donation to the shelter, named for him, was my answer, a legacy for every mother, every woman told she's less. Lorraine's pride, her call echoing her own fight, tied me to Columbus but freed me here. Carla's friendship, her story of independence, anchored me in Sarasota's sunlit streets. Sarah's love, Mia's sketches, they were my family, chosen, not forced. I stood on the balcony again, the palm trees swaying, and felt fulfilled, whole. The shelter's email was more than a note. It was proof my choices mattered. Women were finding refuge, just as I'd found mine. I thought of Mia, her art blooming under my encouragement, her sketches a bridge between us. Sarah's visit would bring new stories, new memories to hang on my walls. Lorraine's voice, Carla's laughter. They were my community, my strength. Nathan's absence was a gift, his greed a shadow that no longer touched me. I'd been a mother who gave everything, but now I was a woman living on her terms, peaceful, complete. The sunset faded, its glow lingering in my heart, and I knew this was my beginning, not an end. Am I the woman I was always meant to be? What will the shelter's email reveal about my legacy? As I stood on my Sarasota balcony, the sunset's glow mirrored the peace I'd found, a new beginning woven from the love of Sarah, Mia, and Carla. The $7 million trust had freed me from Nathan's greed, but it was my choices, facing his cruelty, building a shelter with Robert's legacy, that gave me a family I chose, not one that erased me. In life, love can falter under selfishness, but forgiveness and courage can rebuild bonds stronger than before. Like the jazz in Carla's cafe, family harmony comes when we listen to each other's hearts. For every mother told she's a burden, there's a path to reclaim her worth if she dares to walk it. If my story touched you, please share your own in the comments or follow along for more. We're stronger together.